The chandeliers of the Grand Sterling Hotel glimmered above a sea of polished glass and quiet deceit. It was nearly 9 p.m., the hour when deals were sealed with handshakes and hidden motives. At table 7, 3 men laughed too loudly around Nathaniel Cross, the CEO everyone in the room recognized, the one pretending not to notice how their smiles never reached their eyes. From across the dining floor, Evelyn Hart balanced a tray of champagne, her gaze sharp, unassuming. Years in service had trained her to see what others ignored. But when the man in the navy suit tilted his wrist and let a few clear drops slide into Nathaniel's glass, her pulse went cold. She moved closer, pretending calm. "Would you care for some water, sir?" she asked. Nathaniel looked up, polite, unaware. "Thank you, I'm fine." Her hand brushed the table, leaving behind a folded napkin. Inside 6 hurried words that could change everything. When his eyes lifted again, confusion flickered, then fear. He stood abruptly, chair scraping the marble. The laughter stopped. In that breathless silence, danger turned its head. And for Evelyn Hart, the night she chose to speak up would rewrite both their lives. Subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales, where real courage meets the moment that changes everything. Under the glittering chandeliers of the Grand Sterling Hotel, the moment shattered like glass. Nathaniel Cross's chair scraped back, the sound slicing through the elegant hum of conversation. Evelyn Hart stood frozen near the table, her pulse hammering in her throat. She watched as Nathaniel folded the napkin once more and slipped it discreetly into his pocket. His face was unreadable, but his eyes, those sharp, calculating eyes, carried something new now, awareness. He turned smoothly to the 3 men who sat across from him. "Excuse me for just a moment," he said with practiced calm. His tone was cordial, but his jaw had tightened. The men, investment partners supposedly, exchanged glances, unease flickering behind their polished smiles. One of them laughed nervously. "We'll keep the wine cold for you, Nathaniel." Evelyn knew that laugh was a mask. And she knew, as surely as the light above her burned hot, that those men were dangerous. Nathaniel walked past her toward the lobby. His stride steady, deliberate. The moment he passed, he whispered without turning his head, "Come with me." She didn't think. She followed. The air behind them thickened with tension. One of the men called out sharply, "Everything all right, Cross?" But Nathaniel didn't answer. In the lobby, beneath the golden sconces and velvet drapes, he stopped. "Call security," he told the hotel manager in a low, firm tone. "Table 7. 3 men. Detain them. They tampered with my drink." His composure was chillingly precise. Years of boardroom wars had trained him to face crises with that same steady voice. Evelyn's hands trembled as she gripped the edge of the counter. "They're still there," she said. "They saw you leave. What if they realize?" "They won't touch you," Nathaniel said. "Not while I'm here." Behind the restaurant doors, voices rose. Confusion first, then anger. Seconds later, security arrived. The men protested, demanding explanations, but when the cameras were checked, the truth was merciless. The vial, the tilt of the wrist, the glint under the table's edge. Everything had been caught. The police came soon after. As they led the men away in handcuffs, the one in the navy suit turned his head, glaring at Evelyn. "You just cost yourself your job, sweetheart," he hissed. "You think people like you can play hero?" Evelyn met his stare and said quietly, "People like me notice what men like you think no one sees." Hours later, the restaurant was nearly empty. Nathaniel sat across from her in the cafe down the street, the weight of the night settling like snow between them. The faint clatter of cups, the hum of late-night traffic outside. It all felt distant. "You saved my life," he said simply. "I saved my conscience," Evelyn replied. "If I hadn't done anything, I wouldn't sleep tonight." Nathaniel studied her. "You could have lost your job. Your safety. I've lost worse by staying silent." That night, they spoke until dawn. She told him about the years she'd spent serving people who didn't look her in the eye, how she once wanted to be an artist but learned that rent and dreams rarely agreed. He listened, really listened, the way no one had before. When she spoke of the loneliness that came from being invisible, his expression softened. "You shouldn't be invisible," he said. "Not with instincts like yours." He offered her a card, a simple white square with his name embossed in silver. "Call me," he said. "You belong somewhere people see you." 3 days later, when her manager slashed her hours without warning, Evelyn called. Months passed. She walked into Cross Industries expecting marble floors and distant stares, and found herself standing beside Nathaniel in boardrooms where she once would have been serving coffee. He'd hired her as a consultant to read people, to catch lies before they reached paper. And she did. One afternoon, she pointed out a subtle gesture during a meeting, a glance, a twitch of a jaw. "He's not telling the truth," she whispered. Hours later, evidence confirmed she was right. She had saved the company from a multimillion-dollar trap. Nathaniel's trust deepened, not because she was flawless, but because she was fearless. Still whispers followed her. Some executives sneered. "From waitress to advisor. Must be nice having the boss's sympathy," one muttered. Evelyn ignored them, but their words stung. She didn't need sympathy. She had earned her place. Late one evening, as she left the office, one of those same men cornered her near the elevator. "Enjoy it while it lasts," he said. "Women like you don't stay at the top." Before she could reply, Nathaniel appeared, calm but cold. "She stays," he said. "You don't." The man froze. Within a week, he was gone, fired for misconduct. Evelyn hadn't asked for protection, but Nathaniel gave it anyway. Not out of pity, but out of respect. Their bond grew stronger, quietly, steadily. What began as gratitude turned into trust, then into something neither dared to name. One evening, after a long day of crisis meetings, Nathaniel found her sketching alone in the office lounge. "You still draw," he said softly. "I never stopped," she answered. "I just stopped believing anyone would ever care." He sat beside her, looking at the delicate lines of her pencil. "I care." The confession lingered between them, fragile but undeniable. Weeks later, a scandal broke. The same men who had tried to poison Nathaniel's drink resurfaced, this time manipulating shareholders and leaking false information to crush Cross Industries from within. It was Evelyn who noticed first. The inconsistencies in meeting transcripts, the coded messages hidden in contracts. "They're back," she told Nathaniel, voice steady. "And they're not just coming for you. They're coming for everything you built." Nathaniel leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Then we finish what they started." Together they planned. They gathered proof, recorded calls, traced financial movements. When the moment came, Nathaniel walked into the press conference flanked by lawyers, and Evelyn. Cameras flashed. Voices roared. The world watched as Nathaniel revealed the conspiracy, naming names, showing the footage that Evelyn had uncovered. By the time the conference ended, those men were finished, exposed, indicted, their reputations ruined. That night, the city felt alive with vindication. Evelyn stood by the window of Nathaniel's office, watching the lights ripple across the skyline. He approached quietly. "You know," he said, "you could have walked away from all of this the moment you warned me." She turned, her voice soft. "If I had, I'd still be invisible." Nathaniel smiled faintly. "Not anymore." He paused, reaching into his pocket. "There's one more thing," he said. "Something overdue." He placed a small velvet box on the table. "You saved my life with 6 words and a note. Tonight, I want to ask if I can spend the rest of mine thanking you." Tears welled in her eyes. "Nathaniel." "Evelyn Hart," he said, his voice steady. "Will you marry me?" When she said yes, the city outside erupted in sound, the rush of cars, the whisper of the sea beyond the harbor, and for a moment everything felt still. Months later, their wedding filled the same hall where it all began. Only this time, the glasses were raised not for deals, but for love, courage, and the quiet strength of a woman who once refused to look away. As Nathaniel took the microphone for his toast, the room fell silent. "A year ago," he said, "I met someone who saved me before she even knew my name. She risked everything to do what was right. She taught me that integrity isn't a strategy, it's survival. And she reminded me that the people we overlook are often the ones who see the truth first." He lifted his glass toward Evelyn. "Here's to the woman who saw danger where I saw comfort. To the waitress who changed the course of my life." Applause thundered through the hall. Evelyn smiled, her heart steady. The woman who once lived unseen now stood at the center of a story built on courage. Outside, as they stepped into the night, flashbulbs caught the moment. Her hand in his, laughter in the cold air, the quiet certainty that the world could still be changed by a single act of bravery. But somewhere across town, behind the walls of a courtroom, the man in the navy suit sat in silence as the judge read his sentence. 10 years. His empire dissolved. His name erased from the glossy magazines that once praised him. Justice wasn't loud. It was patient. It arrived in the form of a woman who'd once been invisible and a man who had finally learned to see. And that was the night Evelyn Hart stopped serving tables and started serving truth. Months after the courtroom lights dimmed and headlines faded, Evelyn Hart still arrived at work early, walking past the same hotel that had once defined her silence. But now she didn't serve tables. She signed contracts, led meetings, and trained others to trust what they saw, not what they were told. The woman who once whispered warnings now spoke with quiet authority, her words carrying the weight of someone who had learned that doing what's right is rarely easy, but always worth it. Nathaniel often watched her from across the office, proud not because of what she'd become beside him, but because of who she'd always been. The world had simply learned to see her the way he did that night in the restaurant, clear, steady, unshakable. Sometimes when she passed a waitress balancing a tray, Evelyn smiled and left a note on the table. Not a warning this time, but a reminder written in her neat handwriting. Keep noticing. The world needs people who still care enough to look. The camera lingers on that napkin as the scene fades, the ink catching the afternoon light. Proof that courage can begin with something as small as 6 words and end with a life transformed. If Evelyn's story moved you, help more voices be heard. Like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales, where every act of truth becomes a story worth remembering.